Welcome, everyone. This is Up Your Rank FPL. We are your hosts. I'm AC. That's Bri bringing you another one. It has been so long. Wild card time after the World Cup. Bri, my guy. Wagwan, what's popping? Been a minute.
Yo, it's definitely been a minute. Excited to jump into things here. Ready for FPL, man. We had a great World Cup. Let's jump on into FPL. I know it's been a little bit of a crazy time with this. How's your team looking, man? How you feeling? You excited to jump back into the game weeks?
I mean, I'm very, very happy that FPL is back. I'm not happy where my team is. Let's not forget, I have fallen well out of the ranks in our mini league. So put together a bit of a wild card team, and it's not that different than the team I went into the World Cup with. And knowing that you can make unlimited transfers right now, I
Yeah.
thought that my entire team was like way before FPL had started, knowing that you were going to have this opportunity to completely change around our team. I thought my team would look way different before the World Cup and then after
Mhm.
the World Cup. But honestly, it's not that different. So, I mean, whenever you're ready, I could take you through what my wildcard team looks like, the logic behind my wildcard team, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's dive into it.
So, to be honest with you, going into the game week before the World Cup, I had Jose Sa still in my team, was sitting at the bottom. That's where they really belong at this point in time. They're playing awful on paper. They look amazing, or
Mhm.
they look relatively decent. I need to temper my words. I've actually swapped out Jose Za with Ward. I'm bringing back the Ward Iverson combo. Those are the players that I have between the sticks. Why am I doing this? Because I really don't know where else to go. And I'm looking to keep my team flexible. This is why I did this in the first place. When I got rid of Danny Ward, it unfortunately changed everything because after game week 8 is when he started returning. So by having the Ward Iverson combo, that's only 8 mil that is being tied up. That was the logic the whole time. So I've kind of gone back to that. I'm not really sure which goalkeepers that I'm looking to keep long term, knowing that the second half of the season, there's also the opportunity to activate the second wildcard chip. When I look at the fixtures that Ward has, obviously Newcastle, Liverpool are going to be difficult fixtures, but Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, as well as Aston Villa come game week 19 all the way to game week 22 makes me feel confident that if Leicester keep playing the way that they're playing, some clean sheets are in the works
Okay.
for Leicester, and it keeps me flexible financially in other parts of the pitch. I'm not 100% sure if Ward's actually the route to go. Iverson or Ward will be. I'm going to keep one of them, of course. If I have to pick and not go the Danny Ward and Iverson combo, I was thinking, and this is just because of where they're at with
Hmm.
prices, I was thinking that the next goalkeeper who I'd be looking at would be Guaita from Crystal Palace,
Gotcha.
knowing that their fixtures right now against Fulham and Bournemouth for game week 17, 18 are decent. The next couple games do get tough.
All right.
But then I'd be able to rotate between Guaita and Ward potentially. Maybe I have Guaita game week 17, 18, and then switch off to Danny Ward for game
Mm,
weeks 19 to 22. That's a little
mm,
bit of my early thinking. But if I
okay.
do that, I'm going to have to sell Iverson, who already dropped in price. And then I'm going to have to pay the extra point 0.6 to get Guaita into my team. So because of that, that's why I'm holding off. And we'll
Okay.
see where that goes.
Okay. Fair.
So as I'm looking in the back, Ben White from Arsenal, Cancelo, Man City, Trippier, Newcastle. I think between Cancelo and Trippier, it's a no-brainer for most teams. Most people are going to have the top performing defenders in the team. And you want to have, in my opinion, and I think in most managers' opinions, a Arsenal defender. Now,
Hmm.
I already had Ben White at 4.6. He's gone up to 4.7. he just allows me to stay flexible. He's going to see minutes, and he's also the type of player to get subbed off sometimes a little early, maybe while Arsenal still has the clean sheet intact before they lose it. So I don't mind because Ben White's still getting his 60 minutes. Those would be my starting 3 defenders almost at all times. Now, right now, I'm still holding on to Nico Williams. And the reason why I'm holding on to Nico Williams is because he's only 4.0. It's either between Nico Williams or Patterson from Everton. It's really the only two to kind of have a bench fodder there. And right now, that 5th spot is going to Nico Williams, but I have Gahey currently from Crystal Palace still in the team. I still had him at 4. I bought him at 4.3. He's currently going at 4.4 mil. Crystal Palace have some interesting fixtures coming up. He is suspended until December 31st. However, they are going to be playing against Bournemouth in game week 18. At only 4.3 mil, he might be somebody else who I want to hold on to. Because if not, perhaps I have to purchase a Brighton defender like Estupinan at only 4.5, where I'm kind of looking to get a defender at 4.5 or less. And I'm not really sure where to go because Brighton, ever since Potter left, doesn't look that attractive. Defensively, right? So I might just hold on to Gahey just because of his price point, to be honest. And I might only be playing 3 in the back for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
In the middle of the pitch, currently on my wild card, you have to give it to the October player of the month, Almiron. Almiron has, 46 plus points around there in the last 5 game weeks? Absolutely in insane form. Now, anybody who hopped on him and got him at a cheap price, bravo to you. I bought him at 5.6 and he's currently going at 5.8. And that's still cheap considering what he's capable to do. 5 straight fixtures returning, and that includes returns against Tottenham and Chelsea. I mean, you have to have him in your team, in my opinion. His price point is just so low. You're not going to really get the bang for your buck anywhere else other than Almiron. And as a matter of fact, is he not the top, if not one of the top 3 performing midfields so far on the year?
Scoring defenders in terms of midfielder,
you mean?
Yep, from mid so far.
Yeah. So he's absolutely excellent. He has a fixture coming up against Leicester. That might be tough, right? Leicester, they have been doing a great job at keeping a couple of clean sheets. They got themselves out of the relegation zone, sitting in about 14th or 13th place currently. And they're playing well. I'm sure they want to keep the same energy, but I believe Leicester has 13 points out of their last 18 possible points in their last 6 fixtures, but Newcastle has been almost just as good, if not better, because I think they've had like 16 points out of a possible 18 in their last 5. So it's crazy. It's nuts. It's going to be a good fixture. I am expecting goals, and I'm hoping that Almiron can get onto that score sheet. Long term, though, because we're talking about wild card, when you have fixtures like Leeds coming up, Arsenal could be tricky, of course, but then you have Fulham, Crystal, and West Ham. Come on, 5.8 mil, get him into your team. Saka. Bukayo Saka, I have to. I love him. I've loved him from the moment we started FPL. I like what he's capable of doing. He's going to be getting the minutes. It's unfortunate for the England fans, but with games against West Ham, Brighton coming up in the next couple of fixtures at 8.0 mil, I think he is a great option in terms of some of his attacking returns. In the last 3-4 games, it hasn't been that great. He is somebody who I'm going to kind of be watching, but it does have the ability to get large hauls. You can remember that 15-point haul against Liverpool game week 10. And then right after, he followed up with Leeds with a 9-point haul. So I think that the combination with him and Martinelli, there's no Gabriel to worry about. Obviously, he's out long term. But I think that the attacking returns are going to have to come either from the right side of the pitch or from the left side of the pitch, and it's either going to be Martinelli or it's going to be Saka. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So at 8.0, I'll take my chances over the next couple of weeks. They have some favorable fixtures. Zaha. Surprisingly, I'm keeping Zaha long term because they have a fixture against Fulham. They have a fixture against Bournemouth, and Zaha's he's frustrating to own. He's definitely frustrated to own, but I'm keeping him on the wild card now because I'm actually watching how he performs in the next 2 game weeks, because I might ship him off for somebody like Madison come game week 19. So that's why I'm holding on to Zaha, because I already have him on my squad. And I do like these next 2 fixtures that are coming up. In terms of a premium asset, KDB, he got his rest. They didn't go anywhere. What, number 2 nation in the World Cup? Didn't go anywhere, but he got his rest. I liked what I was seeing in the game against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, where unfortunately the Reds have been eliminated, but the attacking play, it's going to go through KDB. It's going to go through Haaland. If you don't have KDB in your team come wildcard, it's either going to be KDB or Salah if you're looking at a top premium asset in the midfield. I can't afford both. I'm sticking with KDB for now. He's cheaper than Salah. And then my other, more of a fodder midfielder, I'm holding on to Andreas. You can't really get rid of Andreas. He's 4.5 if you bought him early. He's only at 4.6.
Which is underpriced.
I'm sorry? He's underpriced.
I think he's underpriced, yeah.
He's absolutely underpriced. And we seen what he's capable of when the likes of Mitrovic is not playing, right? All of a sudden, Andreas has the capability of getting double-digit returns. The 2 times I believe that he's gotten double-digit returns, or I think he's actually only gotten 1 double-digit return, but the 2 times where he's gotten a haul, I think it was at least 8 points or more, he's been sitting on my bench. And I hate that. But for somebody who you know is going to play, he's going to get those minutes. You have to still find a way to stay flexible. And then only 4.6 mil. You got Crystal Palace coming up, Southampton coming up, Leicester, Chelsea, Newcastle. I mean, a couple tough fixtures in there, but we've seen that he's capable of putting the ball in the back of the net against tough teams. He did it against City. So that's how my mid is shaping up.
Okay.
Now, where things are going to get a little different is going to be up front. And I think the only difference for me is going to be bringing in Darwin Núñez. But I was ashamed of what I saw in the Carabao Cup. 3 misses, 3 easy chances to break this tie with City, and so that we could advance. And he puts it wide each time. And these are golden opportunities. For me, the eye test is worrisome. I don't like it. But when you see the fixtures, and because of my bias, Aston Villa, Leicester, Brentford, Brighton, teams that are not necessarily outside of Leicester right now keeping clean sheets, it's kind of hard to ignore. And I don't want to go back to Mitrovic yet, because I want to see how he comes back from dealing with his injury. So 9.0 mil is pretty expensive up front, I will admit. But right now, he is in the team long-term, because if I can't have Mo Salah, I'm hoping that maybe it's a Darwin to Salah. Darwin gets the assist at minimum. That's my logic. And maybe, just maybe, some magic could happen where he gets his head on the ball and puts it in the back of the net in a couple of these games.
That's fair.
Outside of that, I'm sticking to my main guy, Ivan Toney. Wasn't really getting any burn. Before the World Cup, you saw what he did against City, putting 2 goals in the back of the net. And with the fixtures that are coming up, I don't believe Tottenham is keeping a clean sheet. Hugo Lloris is not currently available. He's coming off of a deep run in the World Cup, obviously. And I think long-term, the teams that he's facing are not teams that keep clean sheets. West Ham, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Leeds. They don't keep clean sheets. None of these teams keep clean sheets in the next 5. And if there's anybody who's going to score for Brentford, it's going to be their main man, Mr. Ivan Toney. So he's sticking with me. And finally, the guy that everybody has. What is he at right now? 80-90% ownership?
Yeah, 83% ownership.
Mr. Erling Haaland. Do I even have to say anything? Come on, he's in the team. Nothing left to talk about. That is what my wild card team presently looks like. But it's not a team that I feel as though I can build more than 4 or 5 game weeks out.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not a huge fan. personally.
Fair.
There are other players that are a little bit on my radar, but before I talk about other players on my radar and who I could possibly switch out, I want to hear, what does your wild card team look like, and what's your logic behind the players that you have on your team?
All right. No worries. I'll jump into my team. I appreciate you walking us through that. There are some similarities, let's say, but equal to, kind of like how you feel. I'm not as confident right now in my team. I do believe that this is probably a team that I will end up changing come the start of game week 17.
Mm-hmm.
But this is basically where I'm at right now. So starting in the back, I had Ward going into the game week. I had brought back Ward few game weeks ago. So Ward's going to be staying as the rotating keeper, and I'm using the word rotating very intentionally. He is going to be rotating in, especially with the other keeper that I have here in my team, because I've gone against my better judgment and I've taken out Pope.
Okay.
And I've actually brought in, due to the fixtures and how some of the rotation works with Ward against my better judgment, I've brought in Kepa. I'm not necessarily that thrilled about it. Chelsea have not kept a clean sheet. They've struggled to keep clean sheets in the last 5-6 games. So it's not one that I'm particularly happy about. But the fixtures for Chelsea over the next few weeks are great. I think they're the top rated team on the fixture difficulty. And so, they got Bournemouth next at home. They got Nottingham Forest game week 19. They have a double game week, which includes City. So that's not really a game week. We're not going to see more than 2 points there. And then Fulham and Crystal Palace after that. And then come game week 21, they have Liverpool. Right. Now, when I'm looking at Ward's fixtures, looking at, like, let's say game week 21, when Kepa's going to be going up against Liverpool, it's a great game to play Danny Ward against Brighton, and have him kind of step in there. So I'm looking to rotate those two. And right now I'm just going with the cheaper of the keepers that are currently out there. Not necessarily going for the Ward Iverson. I didn't enjoy that as much, the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm going with Kepa and Ward. Now, like you, I got Cancelo in the back. Not much to say there. Even though, I don't think he's actually been performing up to his price point. Mm-hmm. But you need a City defender, or at least I would like a City defender in my team. And out of the available defenders, he's the one who's most likely to play. Right. We also learned that Diaz went down. He's going to be out for a month. So, that's one less center back to be rotated. But between Akanji, Laporte, Stones, Ake can sometimes play there. It's just too much rotation. I don't want that headache. So Cancelo's in the team. I also have Trippier. He's not going anywhere. I've been really impressed with how well he's played thus far this season. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing back player I love to hate, FPL wise, love him in real life. Bringing back Reece James. He's healthy. Again, the fixtures. He recently recently got 65 minutes of playing time in. I'm going to go with Reece James. I'm going to bring him back. Attacking wise, love what he does attacking wise. But, looking at his injury record, he's slowly becoming on the list of one of those injury prone players. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he can turn that around. But Reece is in. Then I have this spot, the last spot in my defenders. I'm going to be playing a back four. I have it slated for an Arsenal defender. Right now, it is Ben White who's in the team, but with the amount of money I have remaining in the bank, that could easily be Gabriel. And if I don't make any other substitutions and I have the money, I will be shifting Ben White to Gabriel, just solely for the security in terms of playing time. That's the only reason. I think they're hand in hand, but that's, if I have the money, I'm just going to go with Gabriel. And then lastly, I have Patterson rounding out my defenders there as the fifth one. He'll sit on the bench. Jumping into the midfield, Andreas is in the team. He's been here since the beginning. He's going to continue. He's not going anywhere. I think he's playing great. We've just sang his praises from your wildcard team. And instead of going with Bukayo Saka, I'm going to be sticking with my boy Martinelli.
Right.
The cheaper of the two, but really, I don't necessarily love Arsenal's fixtures over the next 5. West Ham United at home, going to be a derby, a tricky derby, but what I think Arsenal ends up winning that. Then they got Brighton away. Brighton hasn't been really that great defensively since the change.
Nope.
Newcastle, I think that's a tough game. Tottenham, Arsenal versus Tottenham is always a spicy game. And then they got United, who has been slowly turning things around, if you will.
Right.
So I think he has some tricky fixtures over the next 5. So I'm going with the cheaper of the two attackers. And Martinelli might actually be a player where throughout the next 5 game weeks for me, might end up starting, might end up being the first player on my bench. So we'll see how it goes. I also got Almiron in the team. I'm just bringing him in now, very reluctantly. I don't think this is one of those that is probably, and I say this, I'm probably about 75% sure that Almiron will not start in my game week 17 squad. He's been on fire. I think his price right now, what's really getting me is his price point, because outside of his price point, I don't think he's going to be sustainable. I don't have faith in him. I'm not going to. I just don't have faith. I don't have faith in him continuing it. I know that's against what everyone is saying and expecting, but that's just where I'm at. And normally in these scenarios, I go with my gut and, live and die by it. But right now he's in the team, but I don't think he's going to end up staying there, but we'll see how it goes. Next, I actually have Marcus Rashford. I'm gonna jump with Rashford for the first game, 6.7 mil. His next few fixtures, especially his next 3 fixtures, United have Nottingham Forest at home, then they got Wolves away, and then Bournemouth at home. For those are 3 great fixtures. After that, it's City and Arsenal, and so I'll be able to reassess and see what I want to do with him from there. But I'm gonna give him a run for the next 3 games, and then from a premium standpoint, I'm very torn on the fence here. Right now, I do actually have Mo Salah right now. I do have Mo in the team, but it is a coin flip between Mo and Kevin De Bruyne. But right now it's on Mo. And you know what? I'll touch on why it's on Mo right now, or as we jump into the strikers. Not because I think he's necessarily going to outperform Kevin. I just think it's a little bit of security for Liverpool, because, of course, I have Haaland up front from an attacking standpoint. But one of my other forwards is Darwin Núñez.
Oh, you have him too.
I have Darwin, and I have Darwin, and prior to Darwin, I had Harry Kane.
Right.
But I've taken some cash out of there to reallocate to the team. Kane has done excellently throughout. I just don't know if I trust Darwin to actually score, especially with how he looked last game. And so that's why I have Mo. And then to round out the team, right now I have a $7.4 million striker, but it is not Tony. It's actually have Wilson right now, who I really would prefer that to be. I'd really prefer that to be Mitrovic, but he's injured. Not sure how he's going to be coming back. It's kind of a placeholder. It could be Ivan Toney, but right now I have it on Wilson, and I absolutely do not like the look of a Newcastle triple up. So somebody's going to have to go, and that's also part of the reason why I do think Almiron's going to end up leaving the team, because I don't want triple Newcastle, going into this wildcard team. It'll definitely be Trippier. He has to hold his spot down, and maybe I go Wilson and another midfielder.
Right.
But for now, that is how the team that's how my wild card team is currently picked. But a big asterisk that this is very unlikely to be the exact team that goes into to game week 17.
And how much money did you say you have left in the bank with that team?
So with if I, let's say I go with bringing Gabriel in and everything in the bank, I'll have 0.4 in the bank.
Okay. So I like the team because you actually have some players on your team who I was considering. And the one that made me smile the most was when you said Reece James. And the reason why is because we know what Reece James is capable of. He's either going to get you the O's and the ones, or he's going to give you the 17s and the 13s and things like that. It's one or the other.
He's in the Matrix or he's Neo himself. Trust me, man. Like he doesn't fluctuate between anything else. That's all he's gonna give you.
Exactly. Now, I'm not 100% sure where he's at with the next fixture against Bournemouth. So that's why I was kind of holding off. At 5.8, it would allow me, I'd have to do a little bit of changing, but it would allow me to bring in the likes of somebody like Reece James if I change around somebody in my midfield. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you bring up not really trusting Arsenal entirely, because they do have some more difficult fixtures. They did lose their main man up front. He's not the main person who all the goals are coming up, who's scoring all the goals. What I'm trying to say. As a matter of fact, he's been on a little bit of a dry spell, and all the others on the team have been kind of picking up a bit of the slack, with Jesus not performing like he was at the start of the year. But still, it makes you think, when you have 8.0 tied up in somebody like Saka with some tough fixtures, what could you do instead? So you brought up somebody else who I'm sure other managers are considering, Rashford, as a couple week punt, especially when you're facing the battering boys, the battery things of the Premier League. It's almost like, why not? And a move like that allows to bring in Reece James. Now with Kepa, I wasn't as confident. I did think about it because he's only 4.5 mil, but I wasn't as confident because I'm not. Is he going to be available for the next game week?
See, I thought about that too, and he very well might not be available for the next game week.
But you're thinking long term anyway, right? You're talking wild card,
that's
the rotation with him and Ward. So you're thinking, do you have any concerns that Mendy may get his spot back?
No, absolutely not. I don't see that. I don't see, based on what I've seen from Mendy, and based on how Potter plays and how well Kepa has played since Potter has taken over, I don't see any way Mendy gets his job back.
Right. Unless Kepa goes down.
Yeah, I've been very vocal in different Chelsea circles since Mendy was bought that, he was a panic buy. He was not someone who we were targeting. He was not a first, second, or third option when we were looking to purchase a keeper. And we now have a manager who prioritizes playing out the back more so than having a better shot stopper. Mendy's a better shot stopper than Kepa, but in terms of the overall play for the team, I think Kepa's been way better.
Right. Now, with that, the only things that kind of hurt me is I'm keeping my eye on Maddison. I really need to leave some money in the bank to get Zaha over to Maddison, and it's a 1.1 mil. It's something like that is what I need. So it doesn't really allow me to tinker too much and get some of the guys who I would like to have, who you've mentioned, specifically the Rashford one as a punt. But the bias in me almost never wants me to allow bringing in a Man U player into my squad, but it's FPL and you got to get the points from wherever you can.
It's you know what's funny? You mentioned that. There is a very strong chance it at least is going to be a V, but there's a very strong chance that I captain Rashford going into game week 17.
So Rashford is a staple in your team. He's staying.
I'm dead serious. There's a very strong chance that I captain Rashford going into game week 17.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that. I know it's a big gamble with Holland having, I think, who's he playing? Leeds. I know that's a big that would be a very big call, but at the very minimum, he's going to be my vice captain. Regardless of if I have Mo or KDB, my VC is on Rashford as of right now.
I hear you. So we've talked a bit about our teams. I've talked a little bit about who I would kind of bring in or who I'm watching, who you already have on your team. A player that I want to bring up that neither of us have talked about, who I think other managers may want to just keep their eye on, also happens to be a Man U player. And that Man U player is Bruno. And I think that the reason why certain managers may, I'm not saying must, but may want to have your eyes on Bruno is because he was a top playing player for Portugal during the World Cup. Let's be honest. He was one of their main guys. Knowing that Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer with the club, can that possibly get Bruno to the level he was when he first came in and made such a big splash in the Premier League? And remember, he came in the second half of the year. We're about to go into the second half of the year. What if Bruno's mentality just comes back and says, I'm the main guy again? And you know what? I am that guy, and I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to distribute the ball. I'm going to score my goals. We know he's talented. We're not saying he's the best footballer in the world, but he's done it before. He's capable of doing it. Cristiano Ronaldo is no longer there. 9.8 mil? If he can repeat even a little bit of what he had done in previous years, he could be a bargain buy. Now, the problem is 9.8 is a tricky price point to fit in the midfield. That means you're probably going to need to have two low-end midfielders around the same price as Andreas. You're not going to be able to afford somebody like a Almiron. He's too high.
Yep.
So tinkering around with your team, that's going to be difficult, but at under 3% ownership, I think Bruno Fernandes in the midfield is somebody to watch. And if there's ever a chance to gamble, it is the next three fixtures. That's just my take.
I completely agree with that. That was the very move that I was considering, of dropping Almiron down to a 4.3 midfielder, some type of bench fodder, and beefing up Martinelli. Even though I have a ton of cash invested in Martinelli, moving him to Bruno and doubling up on Man U in the midfield and playing a 4-3-3. That was something that I was considering. I didn't quite get there, obviously, as of right now, but that is definitely a big move. I like that. For sure. One player who I want to throw out there as a potential person to consider, and you slightly touched on it. For Arsenal, their main striker, Gabriel Jesus, has gone down. We know he's going to be out indefinitely. The person who's going to be taking that spot is Eddie Nketiah.
Yes.
Eddie Nketiah is going to play up top. Gabriel Martinelli is going to continue to play from the left. Saka is going to continue to play from the right. Eddie Nketiah is a completely different striker to Gabriel Jesus. He is more direct. They both look to score, but Eddie's more of a pure striker, if you will, right? Gabby is just a better footballer overall. That's not up for debate. But with how well Arsenal have been playing, at 1% ownership, looking, with the likes of like a Mitrovic currently injured, and I know a lot of people are looking at that cheap striker slot as an option. A lot of people are playing that formation.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie is someone who I would kind of throw their name out there just to see as a potential gamble. I know the fixtures aren't ideal for his type of punt, but a player that I think is interesting. He's going to get a ton of games. The playing time is going to be there, and the goals could flow. The goals could flow.
Listen, it's possible. I don't know if I'm a brave enough manager to put to buy him. He's at 6.5 mil. That price point, I feel like I'd rather personally pay an extra mil and have the likes of a Tony, somebody who is a proven goal scorer, somebody who's on pens, somebody who is capable of scoring against top clubs. But no, if you definitely need to figure out a way to have a differential into your team, and you are the type of manager that is daring, absolutely, I could see that happening. I may personally want to watch a couple of Arsenal games and see how he gets in onto the squad, how many minutes he's getting under Arteta. But he was it last year where he was coming on near the end of the year?
Yeah,
I think it was.
He scored against Chelsea. He scored 2 goals against Chelsea. He was doing his thing. He was doing his thing. Just one to watch. I'm not saying to go out there and do that, but he's definitely so. Especially if you're looking for a potential placeholder for Mitrovic over the next 1 or 2 games. Someone to consider if you don't have the funds to get up to like a Tony or a Wilson or someone like that.
So then let me hit you with another player right around that same price point to give managers some options to think about and why. Shea Adams, Southampton. So hear me out. Hear me
Let me
out.
hear this. This is going to be.
Hear me out.
This is going to be a hard sell.
Of course, it's going to be a hard sell. Under 1.5% ownership, right? He's coming off, and it's been a while, but he's coming off a good game against Liverpool, right? Yep. I don't know if that confidence is still going to be lingering so far down the line, but if we're thinking long term, you have matches against Brighton, Fulham, Forest, and Everton and Villa in your next 5. He's 0.0, like 0.0 or 0.1, sorry, cheaper than Nketiah. With the new manager, whatever, I forget the name, the new manager for Southampton, he got a full 90 minutes with the new manager. He scored. Is he in favor? I'm not sure. Can the new manager, obviously they lost the game, but can the new manager bounce, kind of put them in a place where he says, you know what, Shay, I'm giving you the burn. I'm going to give you some minutes. I'm going to give you more than the 60, 70 minutes that you may have seen under previous management, or the inconsistencies that we've seen, because he does get minutes, but sometimes they're inconsistent. How do you go from playing a whole game to playing 15 minutes? And then you play a whole game and his minutes are all over the place, but it's because his performance is all over the place. We know this.
That's exactly what I was going to say. His minutes are a direct correlation of his play and what he's leaving on the pitch.
But we've also
inconsistent minutes, inconsistent play.
But you know what? We've also seen what he is capable of doing. He can be the player to, oddly enough, get you a double-digit haul.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? He's done it over multiple seasons. He did it this season again, and he did it in under 40 minutes. Right? Now, that was against a terrible Leicester team, if memory serves me right. But I do believe that there could be some merit to keeping an eye on Shea Adams as a differential forward, or just somebody to hold until you figure out when Mitro is going to be back to his normal healthy self, because he's in and around the same price point. Just a player for managers to kind of consider, especially considering a favorable run of opponents who are conceding. That's all I'm saying.
All right. That's fair. I'm not mad with that. Okay.
Now, one last question for you. Is there a defender that neither of us have talked about that we may want to throw out for some managers to consider if they are considering still tampering with their back line.
I think you know what? I think just again probably based on fixtures, I'm actually a little bit surprised that none of the Manchester United players are being looked at. Shaw, Maguire, they had a decent World Cup, especially Maguire. I don't understand how polarizing this player is really insane to me. He's gone. He can go from being an absolute non-factor with Manchester United to playing for England and looking like England's best player on the pitch.
Right.
I just don't understand how he does it. But just with their next 3 fixtures in particular, Diego Dalot also had a great World Cup with Portugal. I'm a little bit shocked that there's, these are players that aren't popping up more into teams.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be, anyone from them who, is guaranteed to get the minutes is probably who I'd be looking to consider if I was looking for a little bit of a differential outlier type player in the defense.
Okay. And I'm not mad at that because I was going to bring up Manchester United as a whole, just defensively in their next couple of fixtures, just to kind of take a gamble. It is something that I'm still considering. I wouldn't know who. Obviously, Varane is returning late from the World Cup. He's gonna need his rest. I'm never touching Maguire. Maguire's never seen my team. So I'm just putting that out there. But if I actually take a step back from Manchester United, he's expensive. But I think if there's a time where things can turn around for the Reds, it's a time to bring in Robertson. Robertson is somebody, 6.8. That's a lot of money. But he does have the potential to get you these attacking returns. I'm liking what I've been seeing. I liked what I saw in the City game. And I think obviously it's a little bit of recency bias for me, but I just liked how he was playing. I liked how he was whipping in some of the ball, creating chances. It was Darwin who wasn't finishing. If these balls are perhaps meeting other players, maybe Mo Salah, maybe Carvalho, if Carvalho somehow finds himself on the other side, if a ball's being whipped in or something like that. But specifically Mo Salah. And he's on the other end of these balls, going in the back of the net, being delivered from the left side of the pitch. 6.8, I know it's expensive, and I know a lot of people are probably staying clear from Liverpool players. But I do believe that the fixture run that they have could potentially lead to not only attacking returns for somebody like Robertson, but maybe, just maybe, a clean sheet. Now, we've been fooled already. We've been fooled for about a year now, thinking that Liverpool can somehow figure it out and keep clean sheets. It's been a year. Liverpool's been terrible defensively for an entire calendar year. Let's be real. Can they turn it around going into 2023? They're fighting for their reputation. They're fighting for Champions League. They need victories, but it's not going to come from being able to outscore your opponents. That's not where Liverpool is at this year. They're not outscoring teams like they were in the previous seasons. They're going to have to figure it out defensively. I may take a gamble on somebody like Robertson. I'm not saying he's seeing my team. He's definitely not seeing my team. But if you believe you could possibly get some attacking returns and maybe a clean sheet in the next 5 fixtures, even if it's 2, maybe 3, he might be somebody to gamble on.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. I can get behind. I could definitely get behind that. Not a bad shout. I like that.
Brother, if that's it, Wildcard, we hope that we have shared some useful tips and you guys kind of understand what our logic is, why we're thinking about the players that we are thinking about. If you happen to select any of the players based on the reasoning that we've shared, please let us know in the comments. Brian, take it away.
Yes, definitely leave a comment. I'm actually very curious to see some of the wildcard teams that y'all have come up with. So throw those out there because y'all might be thinking a little bit more high level 3D, 4D chess than we are right now. So please, please let us know. And if you're new to the channel, you're liking the content that we've been putting out, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, turn your notification bells on. You can also follow us on Twitter at UpYourRankFPL. We will catch y'all before the game week. Peace out. Wishing y'all the best of luck. Be sure to like and subscribe.